Cyril Ramaphosa says no president before him has had to deal with the aftermath of institutions crippled by state capture. Another unique nightmare for his term, he says, was the COVID-19 pandemic. All right, let's unpack what the president had to say, remembering, of course, we frame that within what is probably going to be a very tight election in 2024. Let's do that with political analyst Vusi Gumbi, making time for us this evening with the Institute of Pan-African Thought and Conversation at the University of Johannesburg. Vusi, good evening to you. Does the president make a good point, or is he starting to justify not getting the job done? Good evening.
Good evening, Gareth, and good evening to the viewers. I think great leaders are defined not by what they face, but how they face it. So he's shifting the goalpost. And I'm not saying this to be quite insensitive to the challenges that he's faced, but the truth is that there is no perfect wicket. All presidents inherit one challenge or another, or a number of challenges from previous administrations. I think people are starting to become not sympathetic to the president because he has not been seen to be a decisive leader, and things have quite frankly gotten worse under his leadership. So he's now trying to shift the goalpost, and I don't think it bodes well for a head of state to say, effectively, we have failed because I've faced so many challenges, because this job comes with these challenges, so he's effectively admitting that he can't take the hit, instead of saying, this is what we have faced, and although we have not managed to deal with all of these socio-economic issues that we're facing, we have managed to have strides in 1, 2, or 3 areas. And I'm thinking he's shifting the goalpost because there is no any material success that we can point to say, in the last 5.5 years, these are the areas of improvement under his administration.
Yeah, so one of the critics talking about the comments made by the president was twofold. One is, this is what the president was campaigning on, being able to fight unemployment, being able to fight poverty, the power issues, et cetera, corruption. I suppose one could argue the one that he couldn't have predicted would have been COVID-19. I suppose you could argue that point. But everything else is what was in the campaign for the president.
Exactly. Precisely my point. I mean, nobody can, fault him for COVID-19. But besides that, the nation has been stagnant. It's either it's been stagnant or it takes 1 step forward and 2 steps backwards, right? And the issue of him being very indecisive, for example, at SONA 2023 spoke of a social compact, and he said within 100 days they passed. And the only time he mentioned the social compact, it was when Mbeki was saying that we've been waiting for a social compact, the 100 days has passed, and that has not happened. So whenever he comes out, it's when it's in relation to, his political detractor saying that, the country is not moving forward. And in my opinion, he's a president who has focused more on his international outlook and his international image than his domestic duties. Outside the borders of South Africa, he's very much respected. He was, lauded as the champion of COVID-19. He was invited to the G7. Even 2 weeks ago in Paris, he spoke with so much confidence and stature. So we were shocked because we could not reconcile the President Ramaphosa who was speaking at the gathering in Paris 2 weeks ago and the type of president that we've got to see over the last 5 years and a half.
Many people suggesting that it's actually been a bit of a disconnect as well. You're quite right. You're seeing almost 2 different stages between the international president and the president here at home. Vusi, as I say goodbye to you, I'm curious about what you think of the strategy of doing this, because I'm framing this ahead of the elections of next year. Everything from a politician now is going to be political rhetoric. It's going to be arguably electioneering. This is an interesting strategy, not far from the elections, to come out and, as you suggest, start shifting the goalposts. I don't imagine it's a great strategy for building confidence in his own ability.
No, it's not. It's not. And again, I think he's getting much of the hit because President Ramaphosa waited 20 years to become the president of the ANC, 19 years to become head of state. And I'm saying this against the backdrop that there were talks, within ANC circles and outside the ANC that he was meant to succeed Nelson Mandela, but branches of the ANC decided otherwise. So you can't wait for so long, only for you to become normal, only for you to give the bare minimum. And on top of the fact that his presidency, he became a president on the back of large enthusiasm and excitement that things had gone wrong. And, he was sort of dubbed as the Messiah, so to speak. And he has not only not done anything, but he's quite failed by his own standards. So now he's shifting the goalposts. He's not being decisive. And amongst other things, he mentioned state capture. And the issue again with President Ramaphosa is that he deals with corruption and state capture as it relates to the relationship that he has with people who are implicated, right? Zizi Kodwa is implicated in the state capture. He rewarded him, promoted him from deputy president to minister. So even when dealing with things like state capture, which he mentioned as a challenge, as if he was not there when it happened, he deals with those recommendations in the Zondo Commission selectively based on who are his allies in the ANC and who are not. So if you're not his ally, you will be annihilated. And that's what we also see, with ESCOM. He was charged of the ESCOM war room. Things have gotten worse. So he does not want to take accountability, and he speaks about state capture as if he was not there. So he's trying to divorce himself from the lived realities that say you are responsible for the fact that this nation has not had any level of progress in the last 5.5 years, to the fact that the mess that we are in is basically not his own fault. So it does not bode well for a leader, and it certainly does not bode well for the African National Congress.
Yeah, also with those elections coming up next year, it is a very interesting set of comments to make. Vusi, thank you very much indeed for your time this evening. Stay warm wherever you are. Vusi Gumbi, political analyst, joining us this evening. You agree, you disagree with Vusi? You're always welcome to tweet us at eNCA. He is from the University of Johannesburg, making time for us with the Institute for Pan-African Thought and Conversation.